Attorney's Court is reconvened. The Honorable Justice Cardoza presiding. Please be seated.
Good afternoon. The record reflects the presence of counsel for the parties. The defendant is present, the jury is present, and you may call your next witness.
The state calls to the stand Ivan Atley. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated. Thank you. And you may proceed with your examination of the witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Will you introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Good afternoon. My name is Ivy Lee. I am the evidence custodian at our SIS lab.
Where do you work?
I work for the Honolulu Police Department,
And when you say the SIS lab, what are you referring to?
Scientific Investigation Section.
How long have you been employed at the Honolulu Police Department?
I actually retired from the Honolulu Police Department as their evidence custodian. I have been an evidence person for 30 years.
And when did you retire?
I retired in 2009, and our crime lab brought me back in 2010.
And what is the address of the lab that you work at?
801 South Bertana Street.
Is that the main or a satellite office, a satellite station for the Honolulu Police Department?
That is the main station.
What are your duties and responsibilities as, how many evidence custodians are there in the Scientific Investigation Services Lab?
There's just one, and it's me.
What are your duties and responsibilities as the evidence custodian?
My duties as an evidence custodian is to take in evidence that is submitted to our unit, or when I worked for the police department, it was my job to take in the evidence submitted to me by our police officers.
Do you receive evidence from any other departments here in the state?
Yes.
Did you receive evidence from the Maui Police Department under Report 14-00646, let me start over. Under Maui Police Department Report 14-0046776.
After reviewing, yes.
When you say after reviewing, prior to your testimony this afternoon, did you have an opportunity to review the exhibits that are placed to your left?
Yes, I did.
And in regards to each of the exhibits that are placed to your left, did you handle each one of them?
Yes.
May I approach Ms. Lee? Do you have a nickname?
I'm sorry.
Do you have a nickname?
Yes.
And what is it?
Ivy.
Is that what you sign? Is that how you sign your name?
Yes.
I'm referring defense counsel to states 425 through 428. May the record reflect him showing Ms. Lee states 425 through 428. And for the record, 425 is the toothbrush, 426 the nail swabs from the 5 nails, 427 bra swabs, and 428 the tissue from the right jaw. Will you look at each of those exhibits and tell us whether you recognize them and or whether you've handled them? say yes, you recognize them?
Yes,
Have you handled each of those items, each of those 4 items?
I have seen each of these, the evidence reports and the property that goes along with each one.
I'll check this to unresponsive.
The objection is overruled.
Do you, and have you viewed those prior to your testimony this afternoon?
Yes.
Do you recognize your signature on any of the forms attached to 425 through 428?
Yes.
Okay. Will you explain to us, you can either do it as a grouping of 425 through 428 or individually at your preference. Please describe for us how you handled those pieces of evidence.
So I'm going to object. I think she only answered that she observed them. What was my objection?
The question was to describe how she handled it.
Well,
If she can describe it. Yeah.
So it assumes facts not in evidence. She didn't testify that she handled them.
Well, presumably she'll tell us how she handled it in her answer. If she did, if she didn't, that's fine. You may answer the question.
These 4 pieces, items, along with their paperwork, came to our lab for testing. And in this particular case, the evidence was turned over to me by the analyst, Samantha Hashimoto. And my signature appears on all of them, the date and the time, when I accepted it from the analyst, which was May 19th, 2014 at 09:45 hours.
After receiving the items, and does that answer apply to each of the items before you?
I'm sorry.
Does your answer about receiving items from Samantha Kashimoto on May 19, 2014 at 09:45 hours apply to each of the 4 items in front of you?
Yes, correct.
And when you received them from Samantha, what did you do with them?
The items were received from the analyst, and in this case, Samantha Kashimoto, and it's my job to make sure that the envelopes and the seals are intact when I receive them from the analyst. And in this particular case, I did that. And then it was sent back to Maui PD.
Who sent it back to Maui PD?
I did.
How do you know that?
In this particular case, these items were sent back to Maui PD, U.S. mail registered.
How do you know you sent it by U.S. mail registered?
How do I know I sent it by U.S. mail?
Yes.
The registered mail has a tracking number on it. And in this particular case, there is a tracking number, and they're all the same. And the tracking number is necessary when it goes back to Maui PD. Whoever is at the other end will have to sign for the package.
Now, do you record that, I'm sorry, let's back up for a second. When you received those 4 items from Samantha, was that an in-person, hand-to-hand transfer?
That's correct.
Okay. Will you explain to us how that happened and who signed the forms at that transfer?
In this particular case, Samantha received the items. And
So I'm
when
going
she...
to object as hearsay.
The objection is sustained.
Move to strike.
Granted.
In regards to your receipt of the items from Ms. Kashimoto, will you explain to us how you received them from her on May 19th of 2014?
When the analyst brought it back to me, my job is to make sure that everything, the seals are, the envelopes are sealed, each one is initialed, the evidence report is correct. And after I signed it from, in this case, the analyst, She in turns will make a copy for herself to put with her report. Mine is just basically to make sure that these items go back to Maui PD.
Did you record the tracking number for the U.S. mail registered that you returned these items to the Maui Police Department by?
The registered mail number, the tracking number, okay. In this case, it was Maui PD that wrote this, okay. In my case, when the registered mail leaves my department or leaves me, the registered mail is a green card that requires a signature. That card is returned back to me. So I know that, in fact, Maui did in fact receive the pieces of evidence in question here, yes.
And you received such notification that the mail shipment that you sent to Maui PD returning those 4 items was completed?
Yes.
Jeff, you realize I'm
Do
just-
you,
Excuse me.
You're sick?
The objection is overruled.
you can answer the question.
I'm sorry. Can
Did
you
you receive the green card back?
Yes, I did.
Do you keep and review those records, for example, the registered mail receipts, the green card that you refer to, as part of your regularly conducted business as an evidence custodian at the Honolulu Police Department?
Yes.
Right. And as well as the chain of custody that you're referring to, that you see your signature on, is that a form that you execute as a regular part of your duties?
Yes.
And you rely on the records, those records, the chain of custody and property vouchers, as part of your duties as an evidence custodian?
Yes.
Okay. May I approach Ms. Lee?
You may do so.
F428, please. Now, anytime while handling these 4 items that you've just testified to, did you open them?
No.
And did you maintain continuous custody of them from the time you received them until the time you returned them to the Maui Police Department?
Yes.
Two trips. Are you on the mate? I'm referring defense counsel to 293, 296, and 289. Ms. Lee, prior to your testimony this afternoon, did you have a chance to review states 289, which for the record are the black jeans, 293, the gray sweater hoodie, and 296 for the record, the black bra? Did you have a chance to review these 3 exhibits that are now before you? Did you have a chance to review the items in front of you?
Yes.
Okay, did you review them prior to your testimony this afternoon?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Do you recognize states 289, 293, and 296?
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
Again, the chain of custody on the evidence reports.
Have you handled 289, 293, and 296?
Yes.
Will you similarly, as you did with the 4 exhibits you just testified to, describe to us either individually or as a group, grouping, how you handled them and what you did with them?
Exhibit 289. Again, this was received by me, the evidence custodian at our lab. And these items came to us on May 6, 2014 at 13:40 hours. And an evidence report was also generated by myself. And on my evidence report and the one that is from Maui County, which in fact will describe what is inside the package, okay? I only know what's in the package just from reading the evidence report. My job is to make sure basically that the items are sealed when they come to me, properly sealed and not tampered with. An evidence report is generated by myself for internal purposes of our division. And it will show Maui's report number, SIS report number, SIS identifier as our way of identifying this particular evidence.
All right, I'm sorry, so in regards to 289, will you tell us the HPD SIS SC identifier number that's assigned to 289?
The Maui report number is 14006476. SIS generates their own report number, and in this particular case, our number would be 14S01312. The identifier on each particular evidence, each package or item has an identifier that is put on by our lab. Maui PD also has their property identifier, and in this case, 289, our property identifier was SC8354.
And you're saying you generated that?
Yes.
And how did you note that on either the chain or the item?
I'm sorry.
How did you note that number, your control number, the SC number that you've just given us?
Mm-hmm.
How did you note that on either the chain and or the item?
This control number is also noted on our evidence report. So our evidence report will reflect our identifier. And in this case, it was SC8354.
And then, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What did you do with it after assigning the property control number?
The evidence was turned over to the analyst. In this case, it was Samantha Kashimoto. And she received it from me on May 7th, 2014 at 0810 hours.
Was that a hand-to-hand transaction?
Yes.
Did she sign it in your presence?
Yes.
And you the same in hers?
I'm sorry.
The two of you were together when you each signed the form?
Yes.
And did you handle 289 again?
I handled 289 again when the items were brought back to me from the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto. When the items were returned, I had to make sure everything was okay on the packaging, everything's in place, and then normally I would just return it back to Maui PD.
And do you see your signature on your chain of custody form?
Yes.
One moment. Let's move on. And the whole time you had them, this 289, did you open it at any time?
No,
Was it in your continuous custody during the times you had it signed out to you?
correct.
And when you sign, how does your name appear on the form?
My name appears as Ivy
Do you have an E number or an employee number that you write down?
Z00075.
Now, in regards to, can you switch over to 293, please? You recognize 293,
Yes,
which for the record is the gray colored hoodie sweatshirt or sweater.
that's correct.
Did you handle that piece?
Yes, I did.
When did you handle it, and what number did you assign to it?
I handled this particular piece of evidence on May 6, 2014 at 13:40 hours. The identifier or property identifier on this particular evidence is SC8355.
And did you mark that on the chain of the number on the chain of custody and or on the item packaging?
That's correct.
And when did you handle it again?
I handled it again when I received it back from the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto.
When was that?
This was on October 28, 2015.
And was that a hand-to-hand transaction?
Yes, it was.
And did you handle it again after that?
Yes, to send back to Maui PD.
Will you describe to us what you did and how you did it?
Again, the items are, or the packaging is checked to make sure that there was no tampering and all the seals are closed and initialed. And once I do that, I will send it back to Maui PD. In this case, it was sent back on October 30th.
And how'd you send it back?
FedEx.
And do you have did you generate any notations regarding the FedEx number associated with that shipment?
Yes, I did. Generally, I put the U.S. mail, but then this particular case, I had to cross it out because I sent it back through FedEx.
And did you write the FedEx tracking number on the chain of custody?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us what that is? Do you see it there in front of you?
Yes.
Can you tell us what that tracking number is?
8728-3721-0577.
And did you check FedEx records to track the shipment once you send it off?
Yes.
And did you do that? And do you rely on those records as part of your duties and responsibilities as custodian of evidence?
That's correct, yes.
And did you get verification that the shipment in fact arrived at the Maui Police Department?
Yes, I did.
Can we turn to 296, please? Do you recognize states 296 for the record? That's the bra.
Yes,
All right, did you have a chance to review that before your testimony today?
yes.
Did you handle that?
Yes, I did.
Will you tell us when that was and what you did with it?
In this particular case, it was item number 2, and it came to me on May 6, 2014, at 13:40 hours.
And how did you get it?
I received it through FedEx.
And when you intook it, did you assign did you associate it with an HPD report number and assign it a property control number?
Yes, I did.
All right, will you tell us, is it the same report number you've been testifying to?
It's the same SIS report number.
All right.
The identifier is different. In this particular case, item 2, the identifier was SC8356.
And when did you handle it?
I handled it on May 6, 2014, and on May 7, 2014, it was turned over to the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto.
Similarly, was it a hand-to-hand transaction where you each signed in each other's presence?
Yes.
And did you assign, did you mark that SC number, you told us 8356, did you mark the actual item as well as the chain with that number?
Yes.
After you turned it over to Ms. Kashimoto on the 7th, did you handle it again?
When the analyst returned it to me, yes.
All right, when was that?
The date was October 28, 2015.
Was that a hand-to-hand?
Yes, it was.
Did you both sign?
Yes.
Will you tell us what you did upon receiving that item back from Ms. Kashimoto on October 28th of 15?
Again, my job is to make sure that the analyst has sealed the envelope or in this case, the package. Mine is to make sure that the seals haven't been tampered with, altered with, to make sure that the analyst initials her seal. And then it is wrapped and it was sent back to Maui PD.
And how did you send it back to MPD?
Through FedEx.
Did you indicate the FedEx tracking number on the chain of custody?
Yes.
And would you just give us the last 4 numbers?
The 0577.
So did that go with 293?
I'm sorry.
Did it go with Exhibit 293 back to the police department?
Yes.
May I approach Ms. Lee?
Yes.
All right, let's pack those 3 up, please. Is the exhibit tag inside? Oh, yeah, it is, I see, okay. I'm showing you states 324. For the record, those are the buckle swabs of Stephen Capobianco. Will you take a look at 324? and tell us whether you recognize it. Do you recognize it?
Yes.
Did you review it prior to your testimony this afternoon?
Yes, I did.
Did you handle it?
Yes.
Will you tell us how you handled it, when you handled it, and what you did with it?
This particular evidence was received on March 13th, 2015 at 12:55 hours.
And how did you receive it?
Through FedEx.
Did you intake it and associate it with the report number, the SIS report number, and assign it a property?
Yes. For this particular report number from Maui PD 14006476, the SIS number is 14S01312.
And did you assign a property control number?
Yes, I did. In this particular case, it's SC 8975.
Did you mark the chain of custody as well as the physical packaging of the item with that control number?
Yes, I did.
When, after intaking and assigning it a control number, did you handle it again?
After assigning it to Samantha Kashimoto, the items were brought back to me on October 1st, 2015.
When you say after signing it to Samantha, did you sign it over to her?
I signed it over to Samantha Kashimoto, but in this particular case, she didn't bring it back to me directly. She had turned it over to another analyst, Khalil Kuluhio Kaleni.
And who is that?
Khalil Kuluhio Kaleni is an analyst in our lab who does trace evidence.
And when did you receive it?
I received it back from Khalil on October 1st, 2015.
And what did you do with it when you got it back from Kaleo on October 1st of 15?
The items were sent out again.
Right. When you, did you handle it after that?
Yes,
Oh,
I did.
what? One moment. Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Can I see that, please? Yep. Okay. Right. Does your signature appear on that form indicating the dates and times in which it was in your custody?
Yes.
And the whole time, in regards to each of the entries on that chain of custody form that you have before you, did you keep the items in your continuous custody?
Yes.
May I approach Ms. Lidekin? I'm showing you states 286, 424, and 323. them? And for the record, 286, blue jeans, 424, the swabs from the mace canister, and 323, the swabs from the blue jeans waistband and blue jeans leg. Now, referring you to 286 and 424, did you handle these items?
I'm sorry.
286 and 424, the blue jeans, the DKNY blue jeans, and the swabs from the mace canister. Did you handle those items?
Yes, I did.
When did you handle them?
July 7, 2015.
And how did you receive them?
So I'm gonna check whether we're talking about both or just one of them right now.
The objection is sustained.
Now, in regards to, we're talking about both 286 and 424. 286 being the DKNY blue jeans and 424 being the swabs from the mace canister.
Correct.
Will you tell us whether you handled each one of those items?
Yes, I have.
Will you tell us what you did with each one of them and when you did it and what you did in regards to each one of them?
Exhibit 286 arrived through FedEx on July 7, 2015. The SIS report number is 14S01312. The identifier in this particular case is SD0126.
And did you indicate that property control number on the item as well as on the chain of custody?
Correct.
Okay. When did you next handle 286?
The items were handled again on the same day, July 7, 2015. These items were turned over to the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto.
Hand-to-hand transaction?
Correct.
Same as you described where you each signed?
Correct.
And did you receive them again?
Yes.
When? I'm sorry, well, in regards to 286, when did you receive it again?
I received it back again on 10/28/2015. And this was from the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto.
And what did you do with it after that?
After reviewing the particular items to ensure that everything was all right, it was sent back through FedEx to Maui City.
Did you indicate the FedEx shipment number on the chain of custody?
I did.
Will you tell us what that number is?
The FedEx number is 872837210577.
And did you track that shipment?
Yes, I did.
And did you ensure it got to the Maui Police Department as intended?
Yes.
I'd like to turn your attention to 424, the swabs from the mace canister. Did you handle that item?
Yes, I did.
When did you handle it and what did you do with it?
The items were, this particular item came in on July 7th, 2015 through FedEx. from Maui PD. The SIS number is 14S01312. The identifier in this particular case is SD0127.
Did you mark that control number on the item as well as on the chain of custody?
Yes, I did.
What did you do with it next?
These items were turned over to the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto, on July 7th, 2015.
Hand-to-hand transaction as you've been describing.
Correct.
Will you both sign the form?
Yes.
Do you see that there in front of you?
Sorry.
Do you see the signatures there in front of you?
Yes.
All right. When did you handle it again?
It was brought back to me on October 28th, 2015,
By who?
by the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto.
Was it similarly a hand-to-hand transaction?
Correct.
Did you both sign the form? Do you
Yes.
see that there in front of you?
Yes.
Okay. What did you do with it after that 424?
After reviewing everything on this particular item, these items also was sent back to Maui PD.
And how was it sent back?
Through FedEx,
Will you give us the last four numbers of the shipment or tracking?
0577.
Okay. So did it go with 286?
Yes.
All right, I'd like to turn your attention to, and during the time that you had 286 and 424 signed out to you, did you maintain continuous custody of it?
Yes.
Did you open it?
No.
What about 323? Will you take a look at that, please? And for the record, 323 cotton swabs of the blue jeans waistband and the jeans leg.
Yes.
Do you recognize it?
Yes.
Did you handle it?
Yes.
Will you tell us when you handled it and what you did with it?
July 7th, 2015, the items came through FedEx. On July 7th, 2015, the items were turned over to analyst Samantha Kashimoto.
When you received 323, the cotton swabs of the waistband and the jeans leg, on July 7th, did you associate it with the HP SAS report number and assign it as property control identifier?
In this particular case, the identifying property control number is SD0128.
D or C?
I'm sorry?
Did you say SC or SD?
It's a SD like David.
Now, the transfer between you and Samantha Kashimoto on July 7th at 15, was that a hand-to-hand transfer?
Yes, it was.
You both signed the form?
Yes.
Do you see it there?
Yes.
The signatures? Okay. When did you handle it after that?
On October 28, 2015. And in this particular case, again, it was from the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto.
Was that a hand-to-hand also?
Yes.
You both signed the form? Do you
Yes.
see the signatures there?
Yes.
Did you handle it after that?
I did.
What did you do with it? And when?
After reviewing the items, making sure everything was in place, these items also were returned to Maui PD
How?
through FedEx.
Did you record the FedEx tracking number on your chain of custody?
I did.
Will you tell us what that is?
The last four digits is 0577.
So did it go with 286 and 424 back to the police department?
Correct.
May I approach Ms. Lee?
Yes.
now look at,
Just the last two.
yeah, these last two. Okay, we're just going to, at this point, let me take those from you. Thank you. I'm showing you states 287. For the record, that's the Old Navy brand, tank top blue with white dots. And I think you may, well, here, I'll just give you a second. I'll put this up behind you. Okay. This is states 292. For the record, is the green colored blanket. Do you recognize 287 and 2? Do you, strike that. Do you recognize, let's turn to the exhibit behind you. Do you approach Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Okay, the box behind you, do you recognize that and the associated paperwork?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
These items were brought to us through FedEx on November 3rd, 2015.
I'm sorry, can I just make sure we're on 292?
I'm sorry, did I say Demi speak? Sorry. 292,
292.
Thank
the
you.
green color blanket.
Yeah.
What did you do with it when you received it via FedEx?
There is an SIS report number that is also attached to this, and it's the same number which corresponds with all of the other evidence that is there, which is 14S01312. The identifier in this particular case is SD0413.
And did you mark that property control number on the item as well as on the chain of custody?
Yes, I did.
And after you intook it and assigned the property control number, what did you do with it?
These items were turned over to the analyst, Samantha Kashimoto, on November 3rd, 2015.
Was that a hand-to-hand transaction? Did
Yes,
you both sign the form? You
yes,
see your signatures there before you?
yes,
Did you receive that item back from Ms. Kashimoto?
I did.
When?
January 14th, 2016.
In a similar hand-to-hand transaction that you've described?
That's correct.
Where you both signed the form? Do
Yes,
you see your signatures there before you?
yes,
Did you handle it after that?
yes. The analyst had brought it back to me, and then after that, the items were checked and it was sent back through FedEx.
Did you record the FedEx tracking number there on your chain of custody?
The number, the FedEx number is recorded, yes.
Okay, will you give us the FedEx number?
872837210658.
And did you track that shipment back to MPD?
I did,
And did you get verification it had been delivered?
yes.
Now, In
I'll
regard-
check to that last piece of testimony as hearsay, and lack of foundation.
The court will overrule the objection.
do you, when you send items by FedEx, do you track them electronically or through the computer
Yes,
as a regular part of your duties as custodian of evidence?
yes.
And will you tell us why you do that?
Just to ensure that the evidence reached its destination. So the next day I check it, and just to make sure that, oh, you received it.
So you're
And you do
no,
that.
I'm gonna check, because that relies on information from FedEx, which would be hearsay.
You know, I asked her why she did it.
I'm sorry?
I asked Ms. Lee to explain why she does that as part of her duties as the custodian of evidence at HPD SAS.
This goes to my previous objection as well. Respectfully ask the court to reconsider that.
The court will overrule the objection.
Is it for the truth of the matter asserted then? In terms of,
Ms. Jones?
Your Honor, it goes to her reliance on records kept and reviewed in the normal course of her business as a custodian of records at the Honolulu Police Department.
it's relying on the truth of the matter asserted.
No. The court's ruling will stand. You may ask your next question.
Were all of the entries that you talked about in regards to each piece of evidence you've testified to today, were they all made at or near the time that the items of evidence were being transferred to or from you?
Yes.
At any time, did you notice any signs of tampering or breaking of seals?
No.
Did you open any of the items that you testified today to having handled in this investigation?
No, I did not.
Can you describe to us, when you have the items and you intake them and assign the numbers before you transfer them, like you said in this case, to the criminalist, where do you keep the items?
I have an evidence vault. If I need to keep the items, or for some reason the analyst is not at work, or he or she is off doing something else.
May I approach Ms. Lee?
Please.
Your Honor, is it time for a recess?
Sure. We'll take a recess at this time.
Recess.